opportunity of having Dr. Abubakar Lamido here. Is referred in many circles as the Amir of Waqf because of the extent of work that he has done on it. And Alhamdulillah, the Nigerian Ummah is blessed with someone like him. So I would want to welcome Doctor to the platform. Jazakallah khair for coming, sir. My first question will be, on the institution, on how to operationalize Waqf in a society like Nigeria. Especially that concept that the capital, the underlying asset, needs to be preserved. Is it easy for people to have the managerial skill to preserve that capital? I'm really afraid of that capital. How easy is it for us to run?
Well, Bismillah, managing work of resources, work of assets. Some people think they will do it individually. He creates the work of and he or she manages the work of directly. Here you have the challenge of management, the challenge of capacity, the challenge of time, the challenge of capability to invest where there is need for investment, and of course where the resources or the asset generates some resources, even how to utilize the resources to distribute them in a manner that makes impact, and so on and so forth. And then the moment the person dies, then you begin to think, okay, how about the sustainable management of that? So this is actually not the best for the management of Waqf. But there is also the institutional way. Alhamdulillah, we have started to have organizations since the last 25 years in Nigeria, and especially in the last 10 years, that we have organizations becoming interested in managing awqaf. Here, it's about, this is an organization, institution that specializes in the management of waqf. The ideal thing is they have their own system of corporate governance. They have their own framework for investment of waqf assets, for managing them. They have laws, they have ways of distribution and so on. There are a lot of challenges, but then most recently there are also corporate organizations that already have experience of decade or more in the financial sector. They already have the required expertise for the management of assets and finance. And then they establish waqf, and they use all this knowledge and experience in the management of the assets of the waqf. Of course, we expect better corporate management in this regard. So as far as I'm concerned, the issue of managing waqf requires a lot of expertise, because here you are talking about a huge amount of resources that are supposed to be managed not for 1 year, for 10 years, but for generations, for the benefit of generations. And then things change. You may start the waqf this year. After 10 years, things have changed completely as far as finance is concerned, as far as management is concerned. If you don't have a system of building the capacity of those managing the waqf, if you don't have a system of ensuring you have people with expertise in investments, for example, expertise in empowerment, so you need finance experts, you need economists, you need lawyers who know the law and are good in that regard. You need work of accountants in this regard. So it's actually a very complex thing that requires to be made an institution of itself. That all these are needed so long as you want to build a very nice work. But one important thing is, of course, apart from those corporates, then you have foundations that we have. If you establish a foundation, if you want to make a work, you can of course have a foundation with incorporated trustees. You ensure that you have a team of experts as board of trustees, and within the board of trustees you have all the required pool of experts, accountants, economists, finance experts, lawyers, of course importantly Sharia scholars, and so on and so forth, all together. And then you have a management system that has at least the required people with expertise for day-to-day management of the foundation, of the awqaf of the foundation, then also this will work. So it's actually a very important, a serious thing.
It's a serious thing.
But gradually we will get there, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Then I want to ask that, for example, I actually have two experiences or two instances of work. One was somebody that gave, let's say, the person gave £1 million specifically now, the person gave 100 million actually to an organization to manage for the purpose of empowering young Muslims specifically. Now, 100 million naira is a very liquid cash that can get devalued very quickly, issues of inflation and the rest. And then the organization is wondering, how do we safely preserve, at the same time make the impact? Because it's supposed to be the profit from the assets of the fund so how do we generate enough? So the money was there actually for like 3-4 years, and we're wondering what to do specifically with the money, being afraid not to make mistake. So where we put it in I think we did sukuk and a few things, but the trickle that comes from it is not achieving, we feel is not doing the work that it was intended for enough. So there is that balance between preserving it or doing the work. I don't know how you would advise that.
Well, in this regard, there are two ways essentially. If the person gives that 100 million, he gives that as a waqf. Is it a permanent waqf he's given or a temporary one? If someone says, okay, this is 100 million given as waqf or given into a waqf fund or a waqf pool, so he no longer owns the waqf, but it belongs to, the fund, but it belongs to the waqf. Then in this regard, you have two choices to make. You can use it as, if he doesn't have specifications, because there are two types of waqf, restricted or unrestricted. If he has no restrictions as to how to utilize it, then you are at liberty to look for the best and use. But if he has restrictions saying use it in this specific way, then you have no right to go against what he says. If he gives without restrictions, then at least you have two important choices. One, treat it as cash waqf. In that regard, you take the cash and you can be given benevolent loan, qard hasan, that is interest-free loan to people as empowerment. And look for people who deserve, who are qualified for loans. You give them to go and do business and bring back the money without interest. Since you already have it, you have your own system, you can use other resources from your organization if you like to train the people about how to manage businesses. But then that fund should only be used for giving qard hasan. That's one way, so that it doesn't get depleted. That's one way to do it. Another way is, okay, take that money, invest it in a low risk, Sharia compliant investment. But look for low risk, Sharia compliant, but high yield, investment. Not just simple investment that will take time without giving you much. Look for that. The best that you can look for, and invest. Then whatever it generates, divide it into two. Half of it, or 70%, or 40%, as you agree, should be distributed to the designated beneficiaries. And then the remaining should be reinvested so that the capital will be increasing. I hope it's clear. So that the capital will now be growing and expanding. So in next year, we expect more, and then you give to more people. You can decide to distribute it all, but then better expand the capital. So this is another way to do it. So the sukuk you mentioned, if you make analysis that, okay, sukuk can do it, go ahead and do it. But then that sukuk give you enough? Yes, no, but do you have a better alternative that is also low risk, that you have the expertise and capacity to manage? Yes, okay, go ahead and do it. So in my own view, these are some of the ways we can do it.
Jazakallah khair. I think